everybody, welcome to the 6th episode of the GPRO Podcast with your host, Jun. And I've got a very, very special guest for you today. It's Cameron Halsall. Am I saying your surname right?
It's Halsall. Everyone calls me
Halsall.
Halsall. I mean, ever since I was a kid, they always said Halsall. I never bothered correcting them because I just know I knew better. I was kind of like, I know that you call me by the wrong name, and I mean, it's not like, it's not even people even know my real name, my last name. They use that much. Although I do remember my dad used to say if I had been born in his generation, I would have been called Halsall a lot at school. But I think we've kind of moved on from that.
Fair enough. I mean, I have a lot of people kind of mispronouncing my name, and I only got 5 letters. The 5 letters in mine, so
Oh yeah.
It's I understand the purports of that, but yeah. So Halsall, okay, I'll know that from now on. But yeah, how are you, mate? You very good?
I've had a pretty good week. Generally feeling pretty good.
Good. So obviously, at the start, we would like to know a little bit more about you. So would you like to introduce yourself, what you do, that kind of stuff?
Well, my name is Cameron. If you didn't realise already, if you really haven't, then I don't know what you're doing. But yes, I live in England, my country, and I don't really do a whole lot, to be honest, besides GPRO. I think it's just more on account of the economic situation. My age, I'm 23. I haven't moved on to full-time employment yet. I'm looking to get that done, hopefully in sometime in the next few months. Essentially, I've just been trying to get everything together, trying to survive. I think we all are at this moment in time. But yeah, I think that's pretty much sums up as in who I am, what I'm doing. There's not much else I can say in terms of what I do. I don't really have a career, unlike a previous guest. But
Fair. I mean, are you kind of studying now, or like?
I'm currently not studying. I haven't been studying since the end of 2019. To be honest, it's been a rough few years. Even before the pandemic, I really struggled with work and everything, and especially just getting on with other people. I think it was just difficult because I always thought I would try and put my own career first and so I went to this business school in London, and I thought that if I studied business, I'd be able to get a job and we'd all be swimming. And unfortunately, it's in London, and London is a very alien to people that don't you're either used to London or you're not, and I found really I wasn't, especially because people were coming from all over the country really to study there, and I ended up my halls for the first year weren't the same as they were owned by the college. They were in Wood Green, some about half an hour on the tube to the college.
Damn. Okay. Wow.
So basically, I had to commute in every morning, and that was a pain. And the fact that I didn't have any real people that I could get to know there made it quite difficult as well. Because you just and the fact is that everyone there basically is only really there I'm only you're either interested in business or you're just generally I don't know, looking to make a lot of money. And I think the best way really I can explain it is that there was this girl, and I don't know why I'm going down this route. I have to kind of use it to explain, and I had maybe a bit of a thing for her, but I think I came back after the end of the first year, start of the second year, and I was asking her, look, what do you do during the summer? And she said, I went skiing. I was like, that's really relatable. Thank you very much. So that really sums up what my college experience was. I really didn't enjoy it. Found it really difficult to meet people that I actually got on with, and trying to keep on top of workload and stuff. And I thought it was going to be really specialized. I thought we were going to be doing, but I really wanted to do marketing, and I thought we were just going to be about selling to people, come up with ideas for product strategies, but when you're doing a uni course, there's so many different subjects within that, and I think it really came unstuck because I had to do a law unit, and I found it more interesting.
Weird for business school a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense at the end of the day. You have to understand contracts to be able to function properly as a business. But it's like I see things from a layman's perspective, and as such, it's very difficult to really understand the legal terms, especially when your only prior experience is basically what does the court system look like and how do you pass a bill through Parliament. And then you're suddenly coming onto what makes a contract, what are the exclusions, what you're talking about formation and all that stuff, and then trying to convert that into writing a report about it, kind of where you have to arbitrate on a case. That you have to basically come up with these, this abstract concept of I think it was a marriage dispute or something. Not like a marriage dispute as in, because it wasn't for a family court. It was this nuptial company.
Okay.
So basically, when the wedding goes wrong, or they can't have the wedding because there's a bit of a flood or something, and there's like a dispute over the ordering of the catering and so on and so forth, basically.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of work out who's at fault. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea how to do this. I'm not a legal-minded person, and so having to spend time on that was, a bit of a pain, to be honest.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, like, I tried doing business. I did business after I finished secondary school. Did a couple of years in the course, and I wouldn't expect to learn something like law and kind of how contracts work and all that kind of stuff. So it is really interesting to actually hear that and to actually see that you have to learn different other aspects of certain areas rather than specifically business itself, which is weird in my eyes anyway.
I'm not really an academic. That's really all I can say that.
That's fair. So what kind of were you planning on doing then? Like, you said trying to find work in the next few months. Kind of what are you actually looking for?
Well, I mean, I can't really go into too much details. It's one of those things. Not because I'm not. I wouldn't. If I could really talk about these things, I would want to. I would want to. And it's not like I don't want to, disclose personal details about my future career, because I'd love to talk about this company, but it's one of those things where, I don't. It's kind of complicated because I'm still applying for it. But
I mean, to talk about the actual, like, maybe not the job itself and not the company, but just like what you do and.
Okay, well, I mean, in terms of, I can't really say too much about it. I mean, I'm just genuinely, I feel Mike. Okay, let's try and get to the point here, Cameron. But essentially, I think I have a decent range of skills, and I feel like I'm competent enough in business to understand the ins and outs of every organization and to try and go on day one. Okay, what's going on? What's all the process here? What's everything working out? In my head, I can go, okay, here's this thing. Say if it's like a store layout, not that I'd be asked to do that, but say for example you've got the store layout and you've got you're trying to work out. I obviously know the reasons why when you go to a supermarket, for example, they put the bread at the back. They try and keep rearranging to make you try and buy more stuff, and that's something that you pick up quite quickly. But but for me, it's kind of like if it's like. This is kind of a really simple example, but say that the bread's in one aisle, but then the butter's down the other end. I might go, hang on a minute. People that might want bread might also want butter.
Okay, yeah.
And then say, hey, why don't we shift that towards there, or something along those lines? That's the most basic example I can think of. But generally, I'm good at thinking about those small little details that maybe other people don't really see, that I think could make a real difference to the customer and ultimately then the business.
No, yeah, that's fair. No, you would want that kind of person, especially try to maximize your business. Just have that mindset and just have that thought of going, like the bread and butter being like, okay, two things that go together. You might as well put those items near each other. Easier to find stuff. But I understand what you're going for. No, so fair enough. It's very interesting what you kind of. I mean, you obviously didn't get much detail because you couldn't really do that, but it's really interesting just to hear about.
It's basically the industry. It's not my personal preference. I think it's just standard practice in this industry to not disclose that you've got anything to do with this industry, basically.
Fair. I mean, what's your ideal job? Like, if you had one dream job that you can get, what would it be for you?
Dream job. I mean, I've always I mean, I've always liked the idea of, to be honest, I mean, I said marketing. I mean, I do like generally looking at strategy, looking at improving people's ability to get what they want and to give customers what they want ultimately. I always said to myself, if I really failed and I couldn't salvage a career, I could always go into politics and become an MP. And I think I remember my what was it? I think it was when my nan died a couple of years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were sitting in a hospital bed, and this is probably the first time in quite a while that the family had come together. And I only bring this up because I think my granddad said that he knew someone who worked as a councillor for the Liberal Democrats. And I thought, okay, I could see that as a potential career. And I was thinking that was kind of where the idea of I could maybe get into politics comes from. Not that I don't have anything to do with the Liberal Democrats, but yeah. And I'm not really going to delve into it much. I'm sure if people want to ask me personally, then sure. But we don't have to go into much detail really on this podcast, especially considering the subject nature. And I know that the community has a bit of an attitude towards politics. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, we do. I mean, GPRO's motto is tend not to bring politics into it, just to keep it a clean space and a space for people to, no matter what your political standby is and your political thoughts are, just to get everyone together and just to play, have fun,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I understand your point, and being a politician, it sounds pretty interesting to me.
I mean, my avatar's Humphrey Appleby. Like it seems like. Why else do you think I picked it? I mean, partly, it was to try and put up a bit of a front for Mafia Games, to try and show myself as a bit of as someone who's an authoritative stuff. And if anyone's watched Yes Mister, I mean, I seriously recommend it. It's one of the better. It's very, very underrated 80s comedy. In fact, I've got the DVD stock set next to me because I've been going through it again. It's just so fantastic. Not that I want to be like Humphrey Appleby, because you have to. I mean, he's played by Nigel Hawthorne, and he has a thing for remembering monologue, and it's one of those things where, I mean, you can basically. I think the great thing about it, is that you don't have to be from a particular political persuasion to enjoy it. It's sort of ideologically neutral. It discusses both sides of any given issue, but it pokes fun at both sides really quite well. It does a good job of that, but also it's very British as well, and that's why I also like it.
Mate, British humor is one of the best. I do love it.
Yeah, I mean, the Americans might take issue with that, but yeah, I do think we do it better, to be honest.
You know what? I agree with you on that one as well. I do. But yeah, no, that actually sounds really interesting. I might actually want to watch that. So cheers for giving me an idea.
Sure. Well.
But let's get on to GPRO now, because obviously the podcast is based in GPRO. So how did you find the game?
Well, I've been on the website since 2016, so I'm relatively fresh compared to some of the other people in the community. I think at the time I was going through my sixth form college. Basically what happened was, as was in the case of university, which I really should have seen, that I wasn't going to fit in. I didn't really fit in my sixth form college either. Yeah. So, but I felt I'd sort of been lacking in terms of finding somewhere to really socialize. And so I felt like joining some sort of community would have been good. I didn't find it by search. I was on Facebook at the time. Can you believe it? I was on Facebook.
And Facebook, so old.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's another story too. My dad had to force me onto Facebook. Like, I was not interested at first. Yeah, it was about 2012. He said, like, son, there's this thing called Facebook, and you can meet with your friends and you can join up here, and it's all very interesting. And then, like, 2 days later, I blocked him because he was noticing that I was active at night, and so saying, please go to bed. And I was like, no, screw you. I'm not having you have anything to do with my personal life. So, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, my dad and I, we have much better relationships since then. But yeah, so I was on Facebook, and this is at the time still. And I think there was this F1 group, basically, that you could talk about F1 and stuff. And I remember that the culture at the time was either you're with Hamilton or you're Rosberg, or you're Hamilton is to be honest, I think he was much more. I could vouch for him back then, and basically, people really underrated him back then. People have to understand, there was the time when he only had one world championship fighting second in 2014, and so people were basically, saying, "How dare you accuse Nico Rosberg of cheating?" Kind of those things came around, especially. Well, I remember Spa 2014. I remember having a heated debate about it. But as to actually how I found GPRO, it was a friend of mine. I say friend, Facebook friend. They're not really friends, but I'm sure, if I wanted to contact him, I probably could have. I think he's still on there. I checked actually. But there was a guy called James Hayter, and he said that, not haters, and it's Hayter, not hater.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so it basically said this guy's on this thing called GPRO, and I thought, oh, what's this all about? It's all, I like F1. I like the idea of a game, and that's the other thing as well, because I used to be into Gran Turismo a lot. But my dad was the one who had the PlayStation. I didn't really have house much, so I didn't have much time for gaming, and I wanted to do something race related. So I thought, why not join this thing? I can play it anytime, anywhere I want, and then just see how things go. And that's pretty much where I am right now. I mean, initially I thought my plan was to try and get to elite without becoming a supporter, because I was a bit of a scrimp. I thought, maybe I could do this on my own, and so far the furthest I've got is pro, but that's about it. So I have become a supporter. I don't know if you can tell, because obviously you need to be really supported to have an avatar, but
fair. No, fair. Yeah, I mean, I've been a supporter, on GPRO for God knows how long now. It's just, I mean, it's just a way of supporting the game, to be honest, But yeah, you did better than me, without being a supporter when you went to pro. I didn't even get above amateur and even I was a supporter and everything. So
yeah, of course.
No, fair enough. So so what made you, stick around to the game? Did you enjoy the game at all?
I think, I mean, it has tasted my patience at times. I have, really been challenged by the difficulty, and I think more than anything, I just wanted to see it out, because I thought these people have raced, they've done 1,000 races, and I thought, hey, maybe I could do 1,000 races myself one day, see if anything happens, and then of course just to community, just to put my mark on there. And as I said before, that I really wanted to socialize, to become part of the community. So I felt like, doing something like that, I could make a meaningful contribution, and then make it something, a meaningful part of my life. And to that extent, I think I've succeeded to some extent, and maybe there is some way to go. And but that's been mainly it. I mean, with my current driver, I don't know. I mean, he's a bit of a problem child, trying to get him up to standard, and before he hits the OA limit for not for pro, obviously, because you can keep your driver to the end of your contract if he goes over the level your group you're currently in. But that's where I'm at right now. I mean, I had a pretty terrible race last time out, because I mean I overestimated driver energy, and I ran out. That's the first time I've ever done that. So I may have raced quite a few races in this game, but I still don't really know the ins and outs, and the calculator we have is still not fully reliable, and so that's the thing. And that's sort of where I'm at in terms of my career. As well, I'm about to the next race. We're going to be recording this on the Saturday, but by the time it's go out by Tuesday, which is the 30th, not the 27th.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yep. Just for people who didn't get it, I messaged Cameron about our recording date, and I said the 30th instead of 27th, which is why he's pointing out. But thank you very much. Yes. Really appreciate it.
But yes, so anyway, so recording this on the Saturday, and presumably on Tuesday night when this goes out, I'll be having my 500th race. And
500th, nice.
Yeah, I know, it's 500 club, and it's not quite as prestigious as the 1000 club, but I feel like I'm halfway there.
And you're halfway there, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's been 5 years, and part of me thinks, what have I done with my life? Part of me thinks that, I'm kind of happy that I've stayed around this long. I think I've only ever missed one race. I mean, obviously I have done holiday on my account, so I haven't fully done 500 races, but I did only miss one race, and I think it was just because I was really sick at the time. I could barely go on my computer, and could not basically it was not going to be possible for me to qualify because my head was not feeling good that day. But otherwise, I've done reasonably well in terms of turning up to races. Although I do tend to leave it to the last minute more often than not, and I've had my reanimation, my team, but they do remind me, and I keep telling them, don't worry, I will get it done. And like I've not missed the race somehow.
No, that's fair.
I mean, it's kind of incredible considering what I've done the rest of my life. Like, not my productivity outside of GPRO is just pretty much non-existent, and that's something I've wanted to improve. But there you go. I mean, I've put all my energy into GPRO, and that's kind of how it's been. But yeah, when I say like I do race, I'm passionate about at least turning up to race and seeing what happens, and especially since the introduction of the race screen, the new race screen, I joined obviously when we were back in the old race screen. That's kind of helped, even though it doesn't change anything. It's still kind of quite fun to sort of watch your guy get blocked over and over again, and like
I see that all the time.
And then and obviously I haven't obviously raced all those races myself. I did get people to holiday in, and I think I was with Van Popter that I was in pro the first time, and the only time I managed to win in pro was when someone was holidaying my account, which was really fun. It's also was it? I think it's still the lowest I've ever won from. I think I started 10th and then won. It's like, so that if that's not an indicator of where my skills are and how much I need to improve, I am not so great at the game. But I mean, I've stuck around because why not at this point?
No, fair. No, that's fair enough. You talked about Van Popter. Was Van Popter your first team that you?
No, Van Popter was my second team. In fact, my first team was Combustible Elements.
Okay.
And that was the team that I raced for from the start of my career until about mid 20. But I mean, you see on my profile when I left Combustible Elements. But I was with a guy called Claudio Schinker. I think that's how you say his name is. Brazilian, and he's very. I think I honestly have a lot of respect for him. I mean, he's very set in his ways, and he likes to run his team, in a very specific way. And I learned probably quite a lot from him. And a guy called Pedro Freire, I think he's retired now, but I remember him being one of my buddies at Combustible Elements, and they taught me a lot of what I know about the game. And although I think eventually. I did, and obviously I decided to move on to Van Popter. I felt like I needed a new challenge, and there's not really much more I can say to that other than, I think that's really how the move came about to Van Popter. And then Van Popter, Van Popter, I think from what I remember, that was one of where at least successfully, that's where most of my success comes from, like being with those guys. And that's where I met James Hitchin. He used to be former Van Popter, so I mean, and we had a lot of good talk on their forum, and then I think it was a couple of years ago now. I mean, again, just see what the date is. I don't need to really mention it. It is really nice how we have all these statistics of when people leave teams and stuff, and trying to figure out who's
nice to see that,
loyal and stuff, and having all the records of the career and stuff, and so and then. Moved on from Van Popter. I think ultimately, I really just wanted to be. As I said, I am sort of in this game mostly for social reasons. So I wanted somewhere that was a bit more talkative, that had a bit more in terms of that aspect to it. And I also just wanted someone really wanted just real discussion on trying to improve and stuff. And sometimes some teams, I think. I think I've had the experience now to figure out which teams are good at looking after you, which ones. I'm not saying that Van Popter didn't look after me, but it was just sometimes you see faces that go, and I saw James moved on to Edifice, and lots of move like that happens, and teams they change fundamentally over the course of a time period, and then it's like you've got so many new people in a team. You don't really know anymore, so that kind of the reason why you joined that team, like the reason you like being that team, that kind of goes, and so that sort of inspired me to move on, shall we say. And to my current team, we animated. I think
how did that come about? Yeah, how did that come about?
Well, the main reason I wanted to join Reanimated was, again, like I said, to try and find a team that was, had a good social interactions, and I basically joined because I knew Kirsty from playing Mafia. That was basically it. I mean, I don't know if she's asked you to be on at any point, but I'd love to hear, episode about her.
She is one of the future guests.
Okay,
yeah,
there we go. There we go. But and that was basically it. I thought, well, there must be some competent people here, and before I go on to talk about Reanimated, obviously, Andy Delson, there was another guy who knew from Grand Popter who obviously has passed away a few months ago. I think I was one of the people I really remember from that time, that period of my career. But yeah, Reanimated. Well, we do have we have a team forum. We mainly use our WhatsApp as our primary method of communication, and it is it's really you can imagine it's not really well organized, and it's like you get hundreds of messages a day of people talking about their daily life, especially Kyle. Kyle talks a lot about his job, and I've noticed this a lot. And to be fair though, he is a nurse, and so I would expect it during this time to be talking about it. But yeah, so all the sort of race day stuff and all that sort of stuff. So we follow our own races when we can. We comment on it, and it's good to hear some people.
Do you guys chat? Do you guys chat during the live race? Like when it's actually happening?
No, we never use voice chat, but we chat during text. I
meant through WhatsApp. Yeah.
We chat during WhatsApp, and it's nice to hear people's triumphs, and more often than not, people's misfortune. But and that's pretty much what it's like at Reanimated.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously I'm from Team See You Next Tuesday. Obviously, Reanimated and See You Next Tuesday do have that very a rivalry between the two, shall we say? Obviously, because Reanimated taking most of our of our players or our managers when people move on from See You Next Tuesday, they usually go to Reanimated, which obviously sees us as the feeder team. It's nice. It's nice to have a little rivalry every now and then. So, obviously, now you've got two teams. Does both teams talk in the same WhatsApp group?
We've got one thread. It's kind of part of the strategy is that I like that, because the first team is a double team, the second team is a double team, this team is also a double team. We've got the idea is hopefully that everyone can pull together and bring their data in, and then we know more stuff, and more people. You've got more advice, and it works out that obviously the points are separate, but we are effectively the same team. We used to be Crash Team Racing 2 before I joined, or the team I'm in Reanimated Black, used to be Crash Team Racing 2, and then Reanimated took it over basically.
No, fair enough. So do you guys even use the team forums in there?
I do. I post my race data. That's the main thing I do. And there's there's a good amount of data on there, and if you want to look stuff up, there's people that from our archives that can explain stuff, and so it's like if you need a bit of help, there's always like a post from a couple of years ago that might explain things, and it's pretty much the same as any other pretty well established team, really. You have the external forum, you have the communication for chat and for more casual stuff.
Because obviously from what I can remember, Reanimated does have quite a few managers who do play the forum games and who do host forum games. Any kind of internal forum games that might happen in between the team forums? Or
to be honest, I think we're all too busy playing the real forum games. That I think that ultimately, and the fact that people are just so busy in real life, that means we don't really have a lot in terms of that to offer. I know that some teams do extensively have their own games to play besides being a manager for the team, but that's we used to participate in the World Cup a few seasons ago. Don't know if we still do that, but personally, of course, I've had quite a lot of activity on the forum games, and that's kind of been sort of my main focus. Or at least I spend a good amount of effort on that, and obviously being part of the championship, I'm not doing so well, but then again, I wasn't standing for owner, so I can't really complain too much. But And also, I mean, to be honest, my strongest games we've yet to finish the month of football and the G Provision. So yeah.
Let's just about the foreign games actually. How did you get into it? Like, what was kind of like the first game you kind of remember?
I think it was Kirsty that got me into it, or it was, or was it? I don't know. It might have been Kirsty or it was Alan Halford who. Alan's in my team, right? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think,
Alan's in your team.
Yeah. I think it was either what's it called, the Elite Racing game, which I played about a season of. I dabbled a bit in SRS. Didn't really feel it was my thing, but I think first game I really got into was Mafia. Kirsty at the time, she was kind of like saying, "Hey, you're on the forums. You want to play this Mafia game?" And I was like, obviously, okay, this seems like it's interesting. And back at the time, I think people like Phil was still playing. I think he was playing the ongoing game, but back then, I think he might have been acting as a manager too. I can't remember, but yeah. So he was on there. Riley was on there. He's obviously left now, but so I kind of got to know those guys a bit from playing Mafia, and I mean, I haven't really let the cat out of the bag, but I'm not a good person at Mafia. I'm not the best Mafia player here, and it's generally accepted that I'm, useless. I don't want to dampen my own ego a bit, but I think that it's more just a case of how I like to play, how I like to present myself, and maybe just how I see the world is that how it comes out in my play style. And
I mean, everyone has a different Mafia play style. I mean, like my play style isn't great on Mafia. I mean, like all I do is answer questions and just make sure I get out of trouble. But
of course,
everyone's got a different method of playing it, and
of course.
Some people might not like it, some people might like it, but that's how it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to completely tell all my secrets, but yeah, I mean, the way I play pretty much speaks for itself. I feel like I have evolved, at least since I first started playing. I've learned to be more concise, to try and actually think more strategically about what I'm saying. I think I always had a bit of a knack for actually not saying stuff, especially if you're Mafia. It's kind of important to not give the game away. But yeah, I have certainly, I've come to terms with how I am seen within that sort of sub community, really, and I've just come to accept it, really. And just really, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to tell you exactly how I play games, how I approach games, but I mean, it is entirely evident by how I play it. I like to be contrarian. That's kind of just who I am, I think. Yeah.
No, like I said, it's fair. Like I said, everyone's different.
I've had some, and I've had some beefs with some players, and of course it's nothing personal. It's just simply I have points of disagreement based on my principles. So naturally, it comes out in when you're playing a heated game like that. Yeah. And to be honest, it is heated. I think, I can really only play so many games of Mafia before it gets in my head, and that's why, I've kind of roped into the championship edition, which we finished about a week ago, and I was kind of thinking, I might actually take a bit of time off, but no, I have to play one more game, and obviously we were playing for points, and maybe that was again something that I maybe let me down a bit, but that was the game which I'm kind of at least glad to have survived this time, because of course a lot of the time I end up getting lynched for really silly reasons. I think one time I pretended to have a power roll when I didn't, and I've often obviously been lynched as Mafia quite a lot. I don't think it's all entirely my fault, but and I think that sometimes I'm quite good at distancing myself, and I think that's one of my skills is that I can basically, I can get away with saying pretty much anything, and then people don't believe me, and then they don't know who my buddy is, and it's kind of there you go. I just told everyone exactly what the plan is. But
yeah, that's a skill you definitely want in Mafia for sure. Yeah, especially if you're part of the Mafia team.
Yeah. But no, I never wanted to be. I mean, we do every year. I think we send a player to the main competition hosted
I
by the
remember that.
website.
Yeah.
I don't know if we do that anymore, but
I don't think
like
the guy. There was a Danish guy. I can't remember his name. He usually comes on and posts that the World Championships are happening and they wanted a representative. But I don't think he messaged in about a couple of years now. I think so.
But yeah, I mean, I never volunteered for that stuff because I know that I'm not, not really well favored in these sorts of things, because ultimately, who really wins and loses in NAFTA is kind of subjective, and yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, is there any other kind of foreign games that you were interested
my
in?
other main game that I'm interested in is GPRO. I think that's the one I probably enjoy the most. I started playing a couple of years ago. I've played every edition since, and I got into it because I thought, I like the real Eurovision. I'm quite lonely in that group among fellow Britons. We generally hate it. We watch it ironically, and that's very evident in the late Terry Wogan's style of commentary. He was very sarcastic. He liked to make fun of the acts lost, and that's kind of where my love for Eurovision really came about, because I think the first edition I watched was 2006, and that was the year Lordi won, and I was really scared by the mask at the time, and anyone who hasn't seen Lordi and their acts,
it is a
very
act for
scary.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I've managed to watch every year since that was the only time I think we ever had a party. At least that was the first time I remember. I must have gone to previous parties at the village, but that was the first time I remember. That was also the last time we ever had a party. For some reason, we didn't have one again. Like the year after hosted in Finland, when Serbia won it, not Ukraine. I don't know, the song that finished, the song that Ukraine sent that year was way more memorable, but I digress. But I remember that I was watching that one on my own with my grandparents, and I've pretty much watched everyone live apart from I think 2015 was one I had to watch recorded. But yeah, and obviously so I have a sort of a love-hate relationship with Eurovision. I watch it mainly again because ironically really more than anything else. But Eurovision is obviously it's the same, but it's different. People get to sort of send their own musical tastes, and you agree or disagree with them. And in the same way that Eurovision is about sort of coming together and bonding over a shared interest in music. Eurovision is much the same. I think that's why I send the songs. That's why I want to keep playing it, because I love to talk about music. I love to share my opinions about music, and yeah, that's what I really enjoy about it. Is obviously in GPRO you do have the tribes, and sometimes you don't know if a song's going to get through, if it's going to do well or not, and ultimately, it is, as much as people said that Eurovision isn't political, it is. And Eurovision, I think, like, it's kind of the same. People have their own preferences, and they will tend to vote stuff down because it's a certain genre, and vice versa. And that's kind of fun. That's kind of what makes it fun, is that there are people that are going to have various different degrees of interest in music, and it's really just a way to to find new music, to discover things you may have not heard before. I mean, I remember, like, when I was a kid, I only listened to Led Zeppelin. My uncle, gave me their best of CD.
Not a bad band to listen to.
Couldn't. No, but it was basically Led Zeppelin and nothing else. Well, Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin, Nick Saban, and nothing else. And then eventually, as I grew up, I sort of developed my tastes, and I mean.
What's your musical taste now? Like, what bands kind of do you?
Well,
enjoy?
I mean, the first band that comes to mind is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, which, funnily enough, I was introduced through GPRO. I think Jed Hell sent the song for the Halloween edition a couple of years ago, and I really loved that song. I mean, the music video was brilliant. For the most part, it's like, I mean, of the song he sent, Robot Stop, which is basically it uses mainly red and black as the sort of true primary colors. I mean, it starts to introduce more colors further on in the video, but basically it's sort of all refractal imagery. It's all CG. It's very clever. It's very kind of like and it's kind of that's kind of, I mean, I like them because they are so talented. They do so many different genres. I mean, that particular album is, and they have so many different concepts of their album. That particular album, basically, it's from an album called Nonagon Infinity, and the idea is that there are 9 tracks, and every single track leads into the next one, and the last track leads into the first one. So it's like like a audio, like a audio Mobius loop, basically, and it's very very much kind of it's very intense, even though maybe it's not heavy, but it's still very, you get very pumped up about it. And and then they had another album that came out, which was the one after that, called Flying Microtonal Banana, and it's basically based on the idea of microtonal tuning, which is so you have the 12-tone scale, and you have your sharps and flats, and basically and that's like how we understand music as Westerners. But other parts of the world, they have what are known as microtones, or what we call microtones. They have scales which use notes which are in between those notes, so it sounds a bit out of tune, but actually it makes sense. And that first one, I mean, they've actually released a couple of, like a double album of, it's not really a double album because they were separately released, but they've done more microtonal tuning in the most recent albums. And basically the last track of that album leads into the first track of the second one. So they like doing that a lot. Having all these little I guess Easter eggs or kind of things that are, designed to make you think, oh, what's that kind of. And they're very good at playing with different time signatures, and they're very, very talented in terms of the instrumentation, the chord progressions. And I'm not really someone who likes to analyze music too much, but I mean, when I first was introduced to Led Zeppelin, I liked them because I could tell they were talented. They didn't just stick to the basic chord structures, and I think that's kind of what my impression of good music is. Does it experiment? Does it try new things? Is it is it good? And to be honest, I mean, it's not so much that I completely agree with their philosophy as a band, because of course they do write songs that I don't have a personal attachment to, that I probably have some disagreements with. But it is interesting how they make their music, how they go about creating stuff. And I just like them, to be honest, because they've got so much range. I mean, they've got Nonagon Infinity with the looping album. They've got microtonal stuff. They've got Polygon or Wonderland, which deals with polyrhythms, which is like when you have you count. Basically, the simple example is like when you count 3 beats and at the same time you count 4 beats, and if you try to do that in your head, it's like trying to pat your head while rubbing your belly. And that can create some really interesting stuff. They've done jazz, they've done folk, they've done sort of all these sorts of things, and it's kind of, I think and also it's also because they sound really rough. They're like they sort of started off as a garage band, and they kind of developed from there, and so their tone is really kind of, it's quite distinctive. They use a lot of delays on the guitars and stuff, and that's quite, it's nothing else like I've ever heard. So that's King Gizzard and the Wizard. Other bands I like is and you can probably tell the bands I've been like for the songs I select from GPRO. There's a whole list of songs that have always been used, which Miko keeps up. And Miko's another one I'd love you to have on here, because I'd love to know what his.
I'd love to have him on. I've got loads.
No, so he's obviously, for the sake of, so obviously for people who don't know, in GPRO, with a few exceptions, you can only send a song once. If that song's been sent before, you can't send it again. And so to be able to keep that, so that everyone who's hosting GPRO can sort of cross-reference it, there's a list of all the songs that have ever been used. And you can also sort by people's names, so you can check all the sort of songs from my music taste and stuff. Some of the stuff on there is not stuff I like. So we would do, obviously there's a GPRO which is part of the Form Games Championship. I will confess, the Jake Paul song that I sent for the first round was purely so I could get the other song, which I did kind of like but and then the other song, obviously, that, I mean, I kind of liked it, but I think nobody else really liked it. Was the Eurovision song contest song?
Yes, yeah.
The B song, which I was like, I was thinking, looking at the results, thinking, why the hell did I send that? Because you had to send songs that were performed by children. Obviously not like forced. It was, obviously they were consented and everything. But yeah, we're not that mean. In terms of restrictions, we have some quite controversial restrictions, including one round where you had to send a song which was performed by an artist who'd been to prison. And
yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, you remember that one? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get optional restriction points based on how long the sentence was.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Yeah. I can't remember. I can't remember what I sent for that one. It might have been.
I sent Lost Prophets. Who?
You did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I mean, it's on the spreadsheet, I think. Although I can't. You'd have to cross-reference it with the edition of GPRO and then check because it doesn't.
I mean, if you see Lost Prophets thing, it's that round.
Yeah, it's that round. Yeah. But yeah.
Obviously, you hosted a couple of GPRO.
Yeah, I've hosted quite a few. I'm hosting one right now. I put it on hiatus because we're doing the Forum Games edition. And yeah, I mean, I've always tried to do some things that are fun, something that is a bit different, and I kind of like to see how we can change the format.
Yeah, I mean your current one is actually really interesting. Like, initially, I didn't like the format basically because you were forced to send one or three. But it's actually opened my eyes a bit more into kind of the band itself, and purposely trying to find a good song from them.
I mean, it's basically this edition, which is technically ongoing. It's been postponed. I think we're going to start it up once the current edition in the Forum Games Championship is done. Basically, the idea was that for every round we have a genre, and then you can only pick certain artists from a certain genre. So we did like noughties or noughties metal, I think was one. I can't remember. This was a couple of months ago. I should have remembered this, but yeah. And we had British. We had like Britpop or something. Britpop. We've had film composers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something a bit different to the normal theme where you can normally choose. You can basically choose pretty much any artist you want, as long as it's kind of below. It meets it's below a certain chart restriction and it fits the theme. Obviously, this thing we tried a bit different. You could basically send any song you want as long as it's by one of 3 artists. Then we see sort of those 3 artists who does the best. And yeah, I have to say it has been a lot of effort trying to put this together, especially the team championship, but that's something I kind of quite like the idea. That's something that's also new for this edition. I mean, obviously, I'm planning to try and reintroduce that in future editions I host, and obviously, if anyone wants to carry that on, they can. Where essentially you send you add. So basically, to explain, you get points as per Eurovision in the 12, 10, 8, and then 7 through 1 format, and so you have to vote for which songs you like, and then we all add that up, and then you get a ranking at the end of that, and then the standing points are slightly different in that they're different values. So first place gets 20, the second place gets 16, third place gets 14.
Yeah, I can't remember the.
Well, I think it gets 12, 10, and then through to 1.
Yeah.
And then we have multiple rounds madnesses, which is what this one is another edition of, where you have 5 rounds of different themes, and then the person at the end with the most points wins. And I thought for this edition, what we could do is add together. People could join the teams as there are in several other games on the forum, and then basically add their teams totals together and see if we get a teams championship going. And I think you're winning that at the moment with John.
With John, yeah. I mean, I think John sent a really good song. I think in the second one, I think it was a Coldplay song or something like that.
Well, no, I think. Well, I mean, actually no. That result hasn't been. We haven't announced. We haven't announced the winner for that one, so we don't know how good it is. But then
it must have been okay. I'm trying to remember then, because
I remember was the first round. I think he won the first round when it was the metal.
Yeah. Okay.
Round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Fair.
But yeah,
like I said, it's been so long I can't
been a
actually
while,
remember.
been a while, yeah. But yeah, in terms of my other music tastes, the other band I like is a band I don't know if I can say it on him because it's very rude.
Go for it. Just go for
Well, I mean, they're called psychedelic porn crumpets, and I like them because they're the psychedelic porn crumpets, and
it.
there's not much else you can say. It's a bit
I do remember a couple of songs that you said
very,
with those.
I just because they're very very sort of chill about it. You can tell they wrote a lot of their songs while high, and it's kind of from the lyrical content and the instrumentation, and that when they had a new album that came out a couple of months ago. It's called Shy of the Sunlight Mound. You can tell. And the one of the songs they sent for the 2020 edition was from that album, which didn't do very well. Didn't make it past the semis, which I thought was a real shame because I quite liked it. But that album's out now. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I do quite like them a lot. And then I mean, I've talked about Led Zeppelin, talked about the Aussie bands, and other Aussie bands like is the Chats, which again is another controversial one. They're basically like a punk rock band that's they can tell, like, I mean, normally when you hear someone sing, you can't really tell what their accent is. These guys, you can tell they're Australian. I mean, if it wasn't kind of apparent from the fact they make lots of references to Australian culture, so they talk about Mamajanas and like in one of their songs, and they talk about smoko, which is like a what they call like their labor labor mandated smoke break. And the lead singer is ginger and he's got a mullet, and it's kind of it's all very sort of attitude, and the songs are very very much reminiscent of like classic punk and like I kind of like tend to like more classic punk than modern punk really, but to be honest, so I like them as well. And then I can't really talk about my music interests, but talk about the Manic Street Preachers. And the reason why I like them so much, and the reason why I know them so much, in fact, that the lead singer is my uncle, James C. Bradfield. He's
wow, okay.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this in the forums a couple of times. I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but I thought I mentioned it here.
Manic Street Preachers, nice.
Relevant, and Keith likes them a lot, I think, and Gareth likes them a lot. He told me a lot that Gareth Rifters, who sometimes plays Mafia, and I mean, I'm not. I met him. What was it, last year when we were able to meet up, and we generally we get on quite well, and we've seen. We when back in the day we used to go to lots of movies a lot and hang out, and it's always been really cool just knowing that I have a famous uncle. I'm also related to James May. I can't remember exactly how, but I trust me, I'm related somewhere on my mother's side. But both Jameses and
both Jameses, fair. Jeez, all right, cool. I didn't know that fact. That's pretty good. That's fair enough. It's great. It's great talking about music, especially since you have such a good I wouldn't say can I say passion? Like
I call it more palate, but passion, sure.
Yeah, but because obviously you understand music quite well. You obviously know the different ways for people play and all that kind of stuff. So it's
I mean
it's good to hear it from.
I'm meaning to play guitar again, and actually I was going to get a guitar for my birthday. My parents chipped in 200 quid, and I've just now got to save up the rest of it. I'm thinking of probably getting a Strat, mainly because of the weight and just generally because they're lighter, they're a bit easier to play. But I do like a Les Paul, and obviously Jimmy Page plays Les Paul.
I've got Gibson Les Paul. I've got Gibson Les Paul.
Have you? Oh, that's
So
cool.
I used to play guitar like 6-7 years ago, probably 8 or 9 now. But I've got like 5 or 6 guitars in my kind of now obsolete music room. It's just like a shed now. There's all my instruments in there. I had a Gibson Les Paul, which was my prized possession. I have a lot of I can't remember what the makers now is. It's BC, but I can't remember what it stands for.
All right,
but they had lots of I have like 4 or 5 guitars from them. So
and I liked I'm not that I would be really interested in getting a bass, but I like the what do they call them? What's the Rickenbacker? I like Rickenbacker basses. And just because, you know, I like to listen to Yes a lot. That's the other thing, prog rock. I love prog rock. Anytime you want to talk about me, Yes, or anything like that, that's going to be that would be, you know, I mean, I'd love people to talk about that, and that's again reflected in the songs that I've sent for the original. I sent a couple of songs from that. But yeah, the only reason I've also wanted guitar is just to sort of play around with it, experiment, just sort of see what's what with learning all the chords again. My first guitar was, and don't laugh, but it was called Pig Nose. As in, that was what it was called. The Pig Nose, yeah.
Oh, Pig Nose, okay,
yeah. And it was like this sort of small size, because I had it when I was about 7. But the thing that was cool about it was it had a built-in amp, so you didn't have to plug a lamp around. But obviously, I kind of grew out of it by the time I was trying to get serious into playing it in secondary school. So that was, and also people did make a bit fun of it. So it was kind of maybe not, you know, the best. I think I did detach myself from it eventually, because it was pretty heavy as well. So that's
especially with a built-in amp. Yeah. I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
What other instruments do you play apart from guitar?
Well, I started on the piano. To be honest, I don't really play piano now. I've never really. I think I just struggled because my fingers are not really. It's kind of. I mean, obviously, yeah, you need a bit of dexterity to play the guitar, but it's just so hard to just remember all the notes on the piano and to try and constantly practice. It's not. And it's not like it's seen as one of the cool things, whereas, you know, guitars are just instantly cool because
of course, yeah. That's the whole reason why. Yeah, I used to play piano forcefully with my mum and my mum and dad, my parents. But yeah, like you said, the guitar just seems like a more cooler instrument than a piano. But no, that's fair. I can speak about music for hours, man. It's such an interesting topic to speak about, for sure. Hi there. Just want to pause this podcast just to promote another great musician in GPRO. I think, as you guys will know, Kerry Lovell, you know, a very long time friend of mine. He did some music at the beginning. I think he's retired from music now, but it would be awesome if you guys do listen to some of his music. I think his music is one of the best I've ever heard. His voice is absolutely incredible. I'm going to play one of my favorite songs on this podcast called Lies. I still had his quote on my manager profile for quite a while. Enjoy listening to Lies by Kerry Lovell. I'm going to post a link down in the description below if you want to check out more of his music, and I'll also post it onto the podcast thread as well. So here is Lies by Kerry Lovell. Goodbye.
It's every moment that you sneak inside my head. It's every morning that I see you lying there. I know you know that I would be there till the end. You know I know that you believe in me again. So baby, don't tell lies that can't hide themselves. And baby, don't ask why I'm only fighting for myself. You're still here tonight, so take the wine down from your shelf. I know tomorrow I'll be gone and you'll be loving someone else. It's every moment that I thought it was me for life. You used to say I was everything you need. Oh, it's every day and every night that I sacrifice. I gave you everything that you needed, but you wanted more. Well, I know they know because they told me to watch your life. But I tried to show that I could change you, make it right.
there is a topic that I believe, not only myself, but I think everyone in GPRO wants to speak about. And it's why do you hate Scots people so much?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's really just a joke. I mean, honestly, I think on the original thread that started the whole thing, I think it was made pretty clear by people in the know that the four nations of the United Kingdom, we have a bit of a rivalry in between each other, but especially between the English and the Scots, and there's a whole history of why they hate us, and it basically started when obviously Callum McKillen, he used to be in my group, and he's active. He plays G Perusian and stuff, and he's also in the Foreign Grade Championship. He was in my group a couple of seasons back, and so he won the first race, and I was like, what the hell is this anthem that plays? It's just kind of like, what is this?
It's not the English
no,
anthem.
It's not God Save the Queen. It's some bagpipe nonsense.
Oh, I never actually knew that. Wow, okay.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I was like, I should make a thread about this. I must protest and see what people's reaction is. I think I'm kind of fairly well known for starting those sorts of threads, just to have a bit of fun. And
I think the Bandle Scots one was the first one that we all kind of recognized and kind of remembered, I think.
Well, no. There's been before that. Main of my threads were on my drivers, and I know the first rule of G Perusian is to not have an emotional attachment to your driver. The name doesn't mean anything. If it says it's Lewis Hamilton, it's not really Lewis Hamilton. But the first driver had, it wasn't the name that was particularly special, but I took him up to, I didn't take him up to pro, but I basically ran out on his contract. And I remember he was like, oh no, maybe I didn't know. No, I can't. No, I think I'm pretty. You'll see when I on my profile when releasing. But this guy called, actually no, it won't because it's gone now. But there's a guy called Martin Hayes, and the thread just Martin Hayes in the search thread kind of explained basically when he was running out of the contract. I thought, I know what I'll do. I will make a thread sort of just talking about my experiences with him as a manager, and trying to get to know him, and trying to just explain how good he is. And then, of course, naturally, he went for like 8 million.
Oh, wow, really?
And he had like 11 offers. He was good. He was a good driver, just not spectacular. He was 8 million.
Not 8 million.
No, definitely not worth 8 million. It was all because I'd marketed his abilities on the forum.
Wow.
And I thought, that was a great load of fun, and obviously. Yeah, and then
just reminded me, you also had a technical director, right?
Oh god, of the name, and this one.
This one is purely because of the name.
Yeah, purely because of the name, and I sacrificed my pro career just so I could get it. And and obviously all the names generated randomly, and you think, oh no, there can't possibly be anything that's rude or anything, but no, he was generally called Dick Message.
Dick Message, wow, yeah, no, I remember. I distinctly remember that one as well. Yes.
Yeah. So I thought, and it all started with I got Dick Message, and one I think it was best topic for that
did win that. Yeah, that was good. That was a good one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Dick Message. What a man. What a legend.
Yeah.
So carrying on the Scots ones, how because obviously it kind of grew, and it kind of become a vocal point in a lot of people thinking that you genuinely do hate Scotsmen.
No, it's really not. It's just ongoing. It's an in joke. It's kind of, we like to poke fun at each other. Obviously, maybe there is something about the politics of it, which again I'm not going to talk about. But if you're in the know, if you know anything about current affairs, then yes, you'll kind of understand about Scotland, where it's at, and it's kind of related with that. Not really. It's not like I hate Scottish people as people. It's more, just it's good to remind ourselves that in the real world we're just people at the end of the day. But we are different, and we like to. I think it's important to be able to make fun of things.
And I mean, it's the same. It's the same in England, especially we have this, North versus South in England, where people in the north hate the south people.
I mean, I have obviously my granddad on my dad's side passed away before he was born, but he was a Yorkshireman. He was very staunchly working class, and my mum grew up in a council flat, but at the same time, I live in quite a nice part of the country. So it's kind of a bit strange, really. So I'm sort of in two minds as to what I am. Really, I'm just myself at the end of the day.
Yeah, like I said, if you don't want to be associated with the north or the south, then
to be honest, it's more my accent. Is that I don't really sound like anything like where I live. So I live in St Albans, and it's obviously a commuter town, quite well off, and obviously everyone around here sounds like they come from London. They sound pretty, middle class. But obviously my family, as I explained, we're pretty working class, although it's not reflective of our wealth. Not that I'm going to, I'm not going to disclose exactly how much money we have, but I think we are, moderately well off. But I never really see an attachment to money as a meaning of status, and I think that's just how I've been. Is that I've never really thought, oh wow, someone's wearing a Nike hat, they must be a good person, kind of thing. I've never ascribed I've never really ascribed to consumerism to that degree. But so we don't really sound posh enough to be to really fit in with the locals, but at the same time I'm a southerner. I don't sound like I come from the north, because even though I do have that lineage, it's kind of phased out, really, and so I've got a bit of a mix of everything, really. It's kind of but I am ultimately I am English at heart, and I do believe in the flag and all that stuff, and
fair enough. I mean, I was born in Cambridge, so my accent is considered posh, because obviously
I wouldn't consider you posh.
Obviously,
but obviously, I wouldn't call you a scumbag, but you're not posh.
I mean that's fair. Yeah, that's a fair enough statement. I just believe people, when they hear me, they'll be like, "Oh, you come from a, very well-off area or whatever." And truth is, I'm not. I'm just, just living in a house in Cambridge, just living my life. I won't say I'm well off, but I won't say I'm not. I won't say I'm poor. I'm just, just in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair. Yeah. That's interesting to hear definitely your story and the north and south. All I'm saying is I hate the north. Just don't get me up there. Okay. I mean, let's talk. I think one of the main things I want to talk about is Formula One. Are you a massive Formula One fan?
I am a massive Formula One fan. If nothing, maybe not as much as I used to be. I grew up on it, watching Lewis Hamilton, and my granddad, he's sort of really got me into it from coming home from school, talking about the races after the, on the Monday after, and I've had a lot of interest in it, especially. I'm not going to fully disclose my thoughts on Lewis Hamilton. I think I have made it quite clear before on forums, and people have kind of taken umbrage to it. But I respect him as a driver, and I think that his work ethic is incredible. And I think that if nothing else, I'm kind of glad to have been born in the same country. Although really, I'm at heart an Alonso supporter, because my mum's side of the family, they're not. I can't remember the exact details, but basically, my mum, my granddad, he grew up as he was a teacher in Gibraltar, and so he lived in Gibraltar for a number of years, and that's obviously just it's obviously right next to Spain. So my grandparents spoke fluent Spanish, and so there was always a sort of thing of rooting for Alonso when he was fighting for his world titles and all that stuff. That's kind of where again, I can't really fully disclose on here my exact thoughts about Formula One, because I'm in two hearts about it, and I do feel like I said, there is that side of the Formula One community that is very opinionated, and I and then I spoke about it right at the start of the podcast. Obviously, the Hamilton versus Rosberg thing. That was that. I think it it was quite childish, the spats we had on Facebook, and I do wish that we could have just gone on a bit more, but
yeah.
Everyone
has their different opinions,
Yeah, of course.
You would argue sometimes, especially
Yeah, and of course. I haven't seen qualifying, so don't tell me who's on pole. But
I won't. But what are your thoughts on this year anyway? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been same as usual in terms of how the media's covered it. They always hype up the second fastest team in testing. Seems like they say, "Is this the end of Mercedes dominance?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. Where are we going to be at the end of the season, kind of thing." And I do think that certainly, as far as the technical regulations are concerned, I do think that if nothing else, it's some sort of tightened the field because of the stability. I think too often the FIA has thought, I know, let's have an idea. Let's try and make closer racing, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then they change the rules, and then one team gets an advantage because they are well prepared, and then the other teams are. They spend all that time trying to catch up, and then because people think that the rules change every 2-3 years. Honestly, it doesn't change. It changes quite a lot. Apart from this year, because of COVID, they've had to really limit the development. That's why the cars look pretty similar. But generally, they do change pretty significantly from year to year, and I think that's how you can gain a competitive advantage, by simply having something that someone doesn't have because you've invested your resources into that. So if nothing else, I think it's more maybe unintentionally created maybe what appears to be a close grid, especially at the front. From what I understand is that obviously Mercedes, they've had difficulty with the car, and maybe it doesn't have the outright pace just yet, but I have also heard that they've been strong on long runs, so we'll have to see. Really, and obviously, it's 23 races, and I don't know if I'm ready for 23 races, but
it's going to be a good season, that's for sure. 23.
I feel like it should be a good fight, especially in the midfield, which is always close. And I've always been a Renault man, obviously. Alpine, it's called Alpine now.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is they call themselves Alpine, even though Alpine has nothing to do with Formula One, and they've always competed in Formula One as Renault. They've won 2 World Titles as Renault, and now they're calling themselves Alpine. I do like the A110. I like the fact that they brought that back, as they updated it. As much as I think it's way too expensive for what it is, because it's on Porsche Cayman money, but it's not as big, it's not as powerful. I mean, obviously, yes, it's lighter, but it's like I don't know really for that much for that car. But the Alpine does look nice as a car. I'll be interested to see what Alonso can do with it. I mean, he's got a bit of a knack for bringing up even dogs of cars to the front of the grid, so we'll have to see. But yeah, I do not understand why they rebranded themselves as Alpine. It just seems entirely corporate. It doesn't seem natural at all. And then I've always been a bit of a fan of McLaren, and obviously having Daniel Ricciardo coming in, and having I've got a bit of I should have also mentioned my stepdad's Australian, so I kind of root for Ricciardo because of that. And he's obviously my stepdad comes from Melbourne, and Daniel Rick is obviously from Perth, so they're different sides of the country. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I like mainly McLaren because obviously Lewis Hamilton, and also the heritage that they've had, and the drivers that have driven for them. I never really like the fire orange. Obviously, I understand that's their traditional colours, but I prefer them in the Vodafone colours. Really, to be honest, I grew up with
the silver and red. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of more of a flame orange, but yeah.
I've
got like the cap from that era. I think my different Uncle Art went to the Singapore Grand Prix, and they brought me a hat back. And I went to the 2016 British Grand Prix. I think you can see me in the crowds during the race footage, and it's clearly me because I'm the only one that's wearing fluorescent orange. Because of course the livery had changed by that time.
Fair.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the Formula One. And then the other sport I follow is American football, believe it or not. I think it's something that you follow, don't you?
Yes, we're both. Yes, so I support. So you support the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah,
I know that.
mainly. I mean, I support mainly because Tom Brady.
Okay.
But yeah.
So what, were you a Patriots fan before, or were you?
I was mainly a Patriots fan before. I also like the Eagles because I should probably explain that I have a friend who I met online. This is also 2016, probably a bit later on. So it wasn't the same time as you, for it was later in the year. But he, we share a lot in common in terms of our, I guess it's kind of difficult to say because we both have autism, so we could relate to that. We both sort of have a similar mind when it comes to our views on the world, and so yeah, it was kind of, and it was to find an American that's also likes F1 was kind of, really, really kind of cool. And the fact that he got me into American football slowly, I think it took me a while to convince me to transition, because immediately I used to like rugby more than I do now. And that I've just kind of been completely convinced really by American football as opposed to soccer. I am an Arsenal fan. There's an interesting story in that too, because my aunt and my dad had a bit of a disagreement when I was born over whether I should be an Arsenal fan or a Liverpool fan. My dad was whether I should be a Arsenal fan or a Liverpool fan. And my aunt, who lived about a stone's throw away from Highbury at the time, was an Arsenal fan, obviously, and my dad, who was a Liverpool fan, they had a bit of a discussion, and I was put in the Arsenal tribe because my aunt won. So, I'm tacitly an Arsenal fan. I kind of follow them, and I also kind of follow Cardiff City because of my uncle. They live in Wales and they support Cardiff City. So yeah, that's kind of my other thing. That's why that's why I'm Cardiff City FP League, which is something else we didn't talk about. Oh yeah.
FP League, damn, I completely forgot about that game, to be honest. But
yeah, that's been fun. So far, I'm doing quite well in the.
Didn't you win the a trophy last season?
I won the Beagles Trophy, last season. Completely lucked out because I never used to be good at knockout stuff, and then I completely tanked in the division, but I somehow managed to win the Beagles Trophy, which is I was
the same. I was the same.
Yeah.
I nearly won the Dudley Cup. Newcastle beat me in the final, but
you've talked about how FPL works before. You pick 6 teams over a weekend, and then how many goals you score is how many correct predictions you win. And then the Dudley Cup is like the Champions League, where all the teams play against each other to figure out who's the champion in much the same way that works. You have group stage, and then you have to go to knockouts, and then the people that don't make it through to the Dudley Cup go to the Beagles Trophy, and so it's like a Champions League, Europa League thing.
Exactly,
but we've kind of gone a bit off topic. We want to talk about American football, So obviously I'm a Eagles fan because my friend is from Philadelphia. He got me into the Eagles, and he likes Tom Brady, and I think again we both agree he has a fantastic work ethic, regardless of what you think of his personal opinions, and so that was good. And obviously he didn't have a great season. 2019 moved to the Buccaneers last season, and won the Super Bowl.
Won the whole thing, which is great. So for those who don't know, I'm a Saints fan. So I always think Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Whoever's number one, the others, whoever's number one quarterback, the other one's number 2 for sure. But no, after that win, after you smacked us in the divisional finals, then Tom Brady is just another class. I mean, he's just too good. The Buccaneers, obviously he's staying for another year in the Bucks. So do you think he's getting 8th ring?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't think it was honestly get the 7th ring in the first year. I thought it would have taken maybe a couple of years, but we'll have to see how that goes. And obviously there are a lot of other teams that are that have gotten stronger over the offseason. I'm sure they'll recruit players through free agency, and so that might make things a bit more challenging. But from what I understand, most of the core that won the Super Bowl is still going to be staying. So. And I think Tom Brady is like that. That's why he was so successful with the Patriots. It's not just because of his skill, but obviously because he was a team player. So if you don't watch NFL, you have to understand that there's every team has a limit on how much money they can spend on players per year, and obviously being Tom Brady, you would have thought he would demand a lot of money, but he actually what he does is he says, oh, look, I'm okay with not being paid so much as long as you can keep the other guys and then we can stay under the cap limit. So Buccaneers should be in good shape, and obviously, I mean, I feel really bad for you as a Saints fan. Like, honestly, with them Breeze retiring and your cap situation is just not looking good at all.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not looking forward to this the season coming. That's for sure. Breeze retiring is definitely a kick to the stomach, but it's to be expected.
I mean, we should probably explain that the reason why the Buccaneers and Saints are rivals is because we're in the same division each.
We're in the same. So we play each other. We play each other a lot. So we play each other twice in the regular season and potentially play in the divisional finals. So.
So we should explain there were 32 teams, 32 teams, 8 divisions, 4 teams in each division, 2 conferences. It's how you get to play each other is very complicated, but basically you're guaranteed 2 games against the other 3 players, the other 3 teams in your division. So
and then you play and then you play what the other. Because I think it's 14 games. Is it 14 or 16?
16 games. It might be 17 next year. But you have a bye week. You have 2 games against your 3 other division rivals. Then you have a game against each one of the other teams in your another team from your conference. I can't remember. It gets really complicated.
I don't really get it either, to be honest. I just watch it. There's a game.
Okay, so basically, I mean, to explain the game of American football, you have it's like rugby in a sense, but it's not like rugby because in rugby you can't throw the ball forwards. In American football you can throw the ball forwards, but you can only do it once per play, and you can only do it behind the line of scrimmage, which is where you start. And basically you have 4 chances in American football to go 10 yards. So if you start at 1st and 10, and then if you go 2 yards, that will become 2nd and 8, and if you get another 3 yards, that will be 3rd and 5, and then obviously depending on the type of situation, you might do what's known as punting, which is basically getting the ball as far down the other end as possible, so that even though on 4th down, so even though you don't have the ball anymore, the other team has to cover more ground to score. That's the essentials of it. It's quite a complicated one, but once you get into it, it's really quite interesting. So I am obviously a Buccaneers fan because of Tom Brady. I like the Patriots, and I'm very happy with how Belichick, who's the coach for the Patriots, is doing in terms of the off season. He's hired a lot of strong players in free agency. I think Carl Van Noy, they've managed to get him back. He's a offensive lineman. They've got and also got Nelson Aguilar, who used to play for the Eagles, and when they won it against the Patriots, that was a difficult game for me because I was rooting for the Patriots, but I like the Eagles as well. And obviously the Eagles won, so I was like, that was the first Super Bowl I watched live, and the second one being the one that's just gone, even though it's in really terrible quality because of the internet and the BBC just their coverage of it is just terrible, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch the English coverage.
It's
not something.
Yeah, I mean the accents are nice, but that's like hearing a home accent is nice, but that's about it. It can be a bit distressing sometimes when they're talking about games that happened a week ago on the show, and that's a bit annoying, to be honest. So the Patriots have got Nelson Aguilar. They've got quite a lot of people, and obviously they don't have Tom Brady anymore. They had Cam Newton last year. He used to be the Panthers. He played.
Didn't he resign?
He did resign. So they've still got Cam Newton. Obviously namesake. Kind of complete coincidence. Obviously used to play for the Panthers. Played in Super Bowl 50. Lost to Peyton Manning's Broncos. Not that I watched that game. Not that I really followed much outside of Patriots and the Eagles and now Buccaneers games, but. So I mean, basically Carolina, they didn't really treat him well in terms of looking after his medical condition, so he declined a bit. And it's kind of in the case of like he's maybe not as adept as throwing the ball as he used to be. But I think you can always work a good team around the quarterback. I think that's kind of what's it's proven. I mean, Peyton Manning who obviously won that Super Bowl, he was that team was very much carried by the defense. So I think Belichick might be trying to do something similar here with the Patriots, and so who knows? I mean, I think they will be a force to reckon with. I think people are maybe not. They're not. Maybe I don't know. I think they might do quite well, even though this year the Dolphins have gotten stronger in their division, and obviously the Bills are now probably the best they've been since the early '90s, probably.
Yeah,
And then
the Bills look really, really good.
Yeah, Bills look good, but then yeah, the Jets are just the Jets, though. So
no one cares about the Jets.
Okay, no. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously, season is still a few months away, and there's all the baseball stuff going on, which I'm not really going to follow. I mean, I've watched a couple of baseball games. I watched the 2016 World Series, which was a really interesting game. If you could go check it out, because of course that was two teams that hadn't won it yet. I think they or they hadn't won it for a very long time.
The 2016 isn't that when the White Sox won that?
Oh, maybe it's a different year. And I was thinking about the Cubs.
I can't remember.
I thought it was Cubs and Indians.
Because the Cubs won it in 2013.
No, was it 2013? I thought 2016.
I'm searching it now, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure it was 2016.
2016. Yeah, it was Cubs and Indians. Yeah.
Yeah, told you.
Fair enough.
And then the other sport which I've been sort of trying to follow, which is golf. Like, I've never really been massively into golf, but I'm just kind of intrigued, and I sort of during the lockdown I've kind of come to really appreciate it as a game, and following some of the old players, and Seve Ballesteros is one that I particularly like because, again, Spanish, and I like Spanish players and generally. Obviously, he used to be very good at the peak of his powers, and then Tiger Woods. Obviously, he's inactive. He had the car crash about a month ago now, but hopefully he gets back to playing well. And and then there's another guy who I like the look of, called Bryson DeChambeau. Mainly he's got a massive drive. Like, he can basically hit the ball 200 miles an hour, and I don't know how many other golfers can do that, but that just seems impressive.
That's why people hate him, because he can drive the ball so far.
Well, I mean, he just works at it. Like, like he's just that good. And I think apparently he got disqualified or something. He got into trouble for trying to use the ball from another hole to try and use the green from another hole to get his ball into the hole, because it was shorter as the crow flies.
Oh no, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I think they outlawed it.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
I mean, that's just gamesmanship, isn't it? Trying to find all the loopholes and
exactly. Yeah,
stuff. And
golf is good. I mean, ever since I played the GPRO golf game, I've been following more and more about golf, and now I've joined the majors game that Alan Halford's hosting. So hopefully, by following that game, I'll be able to follow more golf, which is pretty good. Yeah,
I mean, he obviously does both of those, and I joined just because I liked the Form Games Championship edition, even though I finished mid-table, but I kind of enjoyed it. And we had 2 wet races as the last 2 or 4 rounds. That was kind of nuts. And you won that one. So
one by one shot, which was very surprising, because I never won a single main tour game. So winning that, FGC was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing both of those games just because of that.
Plus you got Alan in your team, so he will do the scores for you just by posting the thing. I believe Kyle Roy Mitchell, he's playing on it. And then there's another guy that he posts for as well. So you got a few people in your team that plays for it. Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think maybe Mario is also playing for it. I can't remember if he's playing, but I know he plays with. He's done a couple of other games with us or with me. I've played a few games with him. So, and then there was that time I won the sheep contest, which he hosted. I remember that.
Myro Sheep is good. Yeah, it's a good game.
Yeah, and it's if nothing else because trying to guess what other people are doing, and that's kind of why I like Radio and Fire as well. Not that I've done so well in that, but I've always enjoyed the fact that you can send your own flavor text to the weapon, and then I always make it something, culturally relevant for that time. So although I'm not so good at that, because I think I've been knocked out in the first round every time I played that. But yeah, the sheep one, I thought I'm never going to win this, and then somehow I won it. And I mean, you actually get credits for winning it as well. So that was
because people donate. Yeah, people donate to the prize pool, which is very good.
Yeah, I don't know how often that's posted, but yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult game to try to host because you get you get loads and loads of messages coming through, of answers and stuff like that, and then collating all the answers and then adding them up and then putting them into a table that's readable. No, but I hope Mario hosts another one soon. I mean, it's a very simple game. You just answer what you think everyone answers. Like Family Feud, but with just one answer.
Basically, yeah.
No, but yeah, mate. It's been absolutely awesome talking to you, man. We can talk a lot more for sure. I can tell that for sure, but I believe we're actually getting to 1.5 hours, which is actually pretty good. No, but it's been great talking to you, Cameron, man. It's been really nice.
Yeah, you too.
Like I said, absolutely, just for me. It's been awesome listening to your story, how you got into GPRO, all your different kind of thoughts on, especially music, your hobbies, your sport, all that kind of stuff. Really, really good. And I definitely enjoyed this one for sure. Any final thoughts there, Cameron?
Well, I mean, I've enjoyed coming on here, and definitely hope to continue as I have been on the forums. I will be myself. I will try to be myself, and I will try to engage with the people, let myself be heard, and try and stand up for people, but ultimately, I just simply ask the people respect me as I would respect them, and hopefully contribute to the community a lot more in the future.
No, I definitely agree. I know a lot of people who don't really know you well do have a skewed kind of opinion on you. But hopefully listening to you, in this podcast,
my beautiful voice.
It is a very nice voice. Don't get me wrong. But I hope that people who do listen to this, have a different opinion on you, maybe for the better, and hopefully your kind of forum status goes from controversial to maybe one that people do like.
Maybe I'll get into the Hall of Fame. Who knows?
You'll get there one day for sure. I actually haven't checked the current Oscars.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. The Oscars, because Kyle's normally does it on the Friday after the first race, but this I think he was busy yesterday, so he's doing them as we speak, and I think he was still posting the results of that as we started recording. So
yeah,
we don't know who's won the Hall of Fame.
I genuinely don't know who won.
You're up for it. I mean, I nominated Bradley Peen, but I'm going to say that now. Yeah, the whole thing. That's the other whole thing with Bradley Peen. Yeah, I don't know. People thought I was, he was my double account, but I was just, trying to help another guy on. And no, I just genuinely want to help people. And
that's great. Yeah, that's pretty good. I do love that. Yeah, but no, Cameron, it's been absolutely awesome talking to you, man. Really do appreciate it. 7th episode, I've got a very special guest. I actually can't remember, but I will let you know, Cameron, through PMs, so you will know for sure. But no, absolutely great talking to you, Cameron, and thank you guys for listening. And I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye bye.